Hi everyone and welcome to CraftStash. Today I'm going to show you a full step-by-step card tutorial how to make this inverted decoupage card using the brand new Creative Craft Products Lines and Curves collection. Let's jump straight into the tutorial. So of the 4 brand new sets in the Lines and Curves collection, I'm going to be using this one, which is the A6 Diamond set. So to achieve a really fun and dimensional decoupage effect, but working from the front down and inwards rather than outwards, I've chosen my cardstock here and I'm going to cut each and every panel into the outer shapes so that I can line them all up perfectly. So I'm going to get 4 of this larger layer cut first of all, and then in each of the second, third and fourth layers I'm going to cut this rectangle, this oval, this smaller oval as well, and then we'll work on some detail in the centre. So the colours that I've chosen are a very pale pink there, then I've got a lovely mint green, a coral orange, a really dark green and an off-white. It's like a champagne colour, so a very light sort of ivory colour as well. I think these colours go together absolutely beautifully. Now the pink layer is my card base, so I'm not really going to be cutting much into this. So from these 4 I'm going to be cutting this outer rectangle. So now I've got my 4 panels all cut out. I can see the colours are going to work so beautifully together, but I need to work out which order I want each of my panels to be in by colour right now, and then I can work out where I'm die cutting. So I know that pink is going to be my base, and I like to alternate the colours, so between the greens and the peaches, to make sure I've got as much contrast as possible between the layers. So I'm going to go with the pearlescent sort of ivory colour at the top. That's going to be my outer frame. Then to the really dark green, and then to get that contrast we're going to jump to the coral colour, then back to the mint green, and then into the pink. So this is going to be the order of my layers. So just laying these out, so this is going to be from top to bottom. I'm going to look at the other dies. So into the top layer I'm going to cut the rectangle die, so that's going to create just that frame. Into the next layer I'm going to cut the oval. Now this isn't going to cut the detail of the oval, but instead it's actually going to be cutting the outer oval. Then into the next layer I will be cutting this shape once again, and I'll also be cutting this shape, and I'll be placing the decorative oval back in. And then from the mint green I'll just be cutting this oval, and that green is going to peek through the gaps within this shape here, and then through here we'll see through to the pink. So I'm going to get all of that die cut, but I always start with the top layer, because if I start with the top layer I can then line up my next die by laying the 2 over the top. You'll see in this sped up version of how I work out exactly where my dies need to go. So now all my layers are cut, I'm going to put them together, but first I'm going to add a little bit of brown ink just around the very edges of each of the layers, and this is just going to help to give them a little more dimension, but also to bring them together because they are all different colours, and it just kind of helps tie everything and make it all look harmonious. Now at this stage you can decide how much dimension you want in your card. If you're happy for it to have quite a bit of dimension, you can add foam between each of the layers. If not, if you prefer it to be rather flat so it's much cheaper for posting, for example, then you can go with just a double-sided or a wet glue. We're going to start with the bottom layer, which is the green layer, and work our way up to the top. Now I've used foam for all my layers, so I've got 4 layers of foam in there, so it's quite chunky, but I really love that effect. I think it looks so beautiful looking through all the layers, looking down into it, rather than having a usual decoupage where the items will be coming out at you from the centre. To decorate this card, I'm going to be using the Creative Craft Products Floral Calendar Collection. This is the October, the Aster Flower. I'm going to stamp this in the same colour brown ink that I inked around the edges, again to keep everything cohesive. I'm probably not even going to colour these in, to be honest. I'm just going to cut them out with the die that comes in the set and place that, maybe even 2 of them, in the corners of this design. Now, because the Distress Oxide that I used to stamp in is water reactive, I'm going to use a little bit of water here, just plain water on a brush, just to help add a little bit of colour to the inside of the petals. So I'm adding water to the centre, and I'm just going to pull it out a little into the centres of the petals there. And that just adds this lovely warm hue, but I'm not going to be doing it all over because I still want the petals to be, the majority of them to be a white. Now, I've actually stamped onto a watercolour cardstock. I decided I didn't want, with the colour scheme of this card, I didn't want bright white flowers stamped onto bright white paper. I just thought that might be a little bit too stark. So I've gone with a watercolour paper, mostly because it is then an ivory or an off-white sort of colour. But also that means that I can then add a little bit of water to the stamped image without the paper buckling. So I've just snipped up my flowers rather than using them as a complete stem, and I've just popped them in the corners there. I think the colours work really nicely. I have lifted up this top layer, this top frame, and just tucked them underneath there so that the foam actually holds the flowers still. So just pushing that one back a little bit further. Lastly, just to add a sentiment, and in here we do actually have a sentiment if you'd like to use that one. There's also sentiments, or you've got months and the flower names in with the floral calendar dies as well that I've used. So I'm going to die cut this one. This is how are you, with a question mark, which is actually a really nice sentiment for a card. So if you're sending a card just because you're just checking in on someone, that's absolutely perfect. And there's my finished inverted decoupage card, looking down into the card rather than it all being raised up in the centre. How much fun is that? Really, really easy to do with the new Lines and Curves collection. Also in this collection, we have the 6x6 retro square die set of the same sort of concept, and you can do a similar design. We've also got the 5x7 floral die set, and we've got the A2 Art Deco die set. And here's a couple more cards that I've created. So this one is the opposite of the card we've made today. So the layers are coming out at us instead. And then this fun one as well, if floral isn't your thing, you can still do something really bright and colourful with these layers, just adding interest to the background. So if you love this collection and the way that the nesting dies work, you can find a link down below that takes you directly to all of the products, both on our UK and our US website. As always, you can subscribe to our CraftStash YouTube channel for tips and tutorials like this just up here. And I think you're really going to like this video just here. Take care, everybody. See you soon.